Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode number 36 of Boutique Talk. My name is Jake Boston, otherwise known as Steelbook Obsessed on all your major social media platforms. And if you want to listen to all things physical media related, then you've come to the right place. Every week, I have on a new guest to talk about their physical media journey. And tonight, I have the pleasure of meeting up with this person to hunt for physical media in real life a couple of times. So I'm thrilled to finally have him on the podcast in the virtual form. It's Corey from Wilky's Movies and Music. Corey, how's it going, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on here. And like you said, it was a blast getting to meet up with you in real life.
Yeah.
Definitely does it's kind of surreal after you've met somebody for a little while out on YouTube or Instagram, talking for a little while, to actually face to face go hunting for some movies. And I had a blast. Yeah, definitely be up for it anytime.
Yeah, the first time we did it, we were kind of pushing you to start your own channel.
Yeah,
In the
yep.
span of a year, you did it, and I love the content you make over there.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it very much. And yes, that was before. The first time was before I took the dive, I guess. And I appreciate all the encouragement and gentle nudging that I got from a lot of you. It was much appreciated, and yeah, having fun with it.
Perfect. Well, I kind of know that aspect of your life, but when we talked in person, we never really went over how you started collecting anything in the first place. So
Sure.
where does that kind of come into your life?
Well, I guess it started off with growing up. I mean, I loved movies so much, but a lot of the time it was going out to the theater. We didn't have a ton of money, like not like, oh, like woe is me story, but it's like I'm a little bit older, and so VCRs were pretty expensive and VHS tapes were pretty expensive. So a lot of it, my beginning was, having a blast going with the family to drive-in movie theaters and a little local two-screen theater, in a small town. We were a very rural, small community, going to that and just having a blast. And I just always found myself like just getting into these movies, like just losing myself. And I instantly, like, my first love was probably going into like science fiction, and I just loved anything like that for movies. And then the old days of the VHS stores, the rental stores, bringing movies home. And we honestly we were joking about this I think maybe one time, but we didn't have a VCR for a long time, and back then you could like rent a VCR from the rental store, so you'd rent this VCR and lug it home with the 2 or 3 movies that you rented, and just had a blast with it. Always had fun with it. It was like a fun escape. I always kind of had my head in the clouds, and it was kind of the fun thing to be able to dive into. So when I could get to a point where I could start actually buying some things and like keeping them at home and like go back to them, definitely dove into that. So VHS, and then, DVD came around. That was like a mind blower. It seemed like, now I know we talk about, Blu-ray. Sometimes people, that's not enough and you need the 4K, but man, I remember that jump even from VHS to DVD.
It was crazy.
That was a big deal. And, I couldn't do it right away too, because like the price points of those things when they start off, the new cutting edge, it's up there a little bit. And I was, a younger person, couldn't get into that right away, so I was still hanging with the VHS for a while, and then went into the DVD. And yeah, I was one of those longtime Netflix subscribers that had the DVDs being mailed to me,
I was as well.
weekly basis. But
Yep. I got those sent to me in my college dorm. Like as soon as I could have a place to mail Netflix DVDs, I did that. It was
Yep.
the best. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
But man, the jump from VHS to DVD was a crazy jump, to say the least. I still remember like it was a very like huge moment when The Matrix came out on DVD.
That was one of my first.
It was one of mine as well. Yeah, I think we got our player like 97, 98, and it came with like 4 movies when you bought it. But I want to say that came out 2000-ish, like late 1999, early 2000 on DVD, and that was just huge. I still remember like the menus looking crazy and just the visuals on we still had a square, 720p TV, but it was great.
I remember that. That was the crazy thing. I think they were trying to push the format. And so when I bought my DVD, that was a big thing where you could like mail in for like 2 or 3 free DVDs or something. I can't remember what it was, but you could like mark off a couple and have it sent to you. I can't remember which ones I had sent to me, but ones I purchased, I think Two of the ones I remember right off the bat are The Matrix and Saving Private Ryan on DVD. And man, I remember, and it was like VHS days too, when I didn't have too many to start off with. You bought like the ones you loved, you knew you loved them, and ones you would go back and rewatch, because if you didn't have too many of them, you'd go back and rewatch a lot of those. So yeah, definitely fun.
Our player came with it was a Pioneer player, so it was like movies back in the day were like some DVDs were made by Pioneer or printed by Pioneer.
Oh sure, okay.
So I remember The Mask being like one of the 4 that we got, and that movie just blew my head up. I think we got it when I was like 9 or 10 years old, and just I rewatched that movie more than any other movie, I think, just because I loved the comedic sense of that movie, and I still think it holds up. It's great.
Oh, absolutely. One of the first ones I got, I think it's like totally useless now, and I don't know why I thought it was a really cool thing, but the first one I ever got, I don't know the model number, but it was a Toshiba DVD player, but it had a dual disc tray that would come out, and you could put 2 of them in there.
Living in the future, huh?
I was like, man, do it. More the better, right? And I'm like, okay. Then like looking back at it, I was like, okay, is it really that big of a deal to like finish a movie and then like get up and go put another one in?
I don't know, Corey. I think it'd be very cool to have like a 4K in and then the Blu-ray special feature on the other, so I don't have to get up to swap discs.
Oh,
that sounds like a lifestyle change that I need.
So that would be awesome. But at that time, it was just 1 disc that came with the movie. But no, absolutely. Yeah. Now, bring it back out now. Yeah, absolutely. You could have your bonus disc and your feature going.
We're going to talk a little bit about Carrie later on, but I have the Scream Factory version here. Yeah. And it was the 4K with no special features on it at all. And there's a disc in here just entirely with special features. So I'm like, okay, I got to get up, put this in. Like it's what physical media collectors are used to right now. It's just kind of just an added hassle that you just kind of have to live with.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, for sure. And both of these labels that we're going to be talking about tonight, they both, I think, do a pretty good job with throwing in some of those special features. Yeah. Not always across the board, but yeah, there's some really good ones across both of them, I think.
And you saw my Scream Factory. That means Corey had the Arrow Video version, which I actually went with for the poster artwork because, damn,
look at that.
That artwork looks insane.
I love that. And that totally is her in that scene. The eyes. And the red. So, yep. Yeah. And this is the import version of, I mean, that's the only one you can get of it, but, yeah, it was a fun one. I wanted that steelbook so bad though, that you have there. I love the artwork that they have on that one too. Yeah. So I think both did a good job with them.
Artwork by Mexi Funk. He's been on the podcast.
And he's awesome.
4 or 5. Yeah. He's a great artist.
He's awesome.
Does great stuff. This was in the latest Scream Factory sale that they had. It was like $20 for the steelbook. Yeah.
Yeah. But I had already bought this one. So
sure. No, totally get it. We'll talk about kind of the similarities and differences a little bit later. Yeah. But I kind of want to get back to when you started collecting media. You've been collecting since the VHS days over to DVD. Do you have any of those older formats, or do you kind of get rid of them as you get a movie in a better quality version?
So I do still have some of them, but I got rid of quite a bit, and I wish I would not have at this point. But, I think we all have those stories of like, let's free up some room and get rid of it all. And then later I'm like, why did I do that? I was a really early adapter, and don't shun me for this, but when streaming started rolling out, I was like, this is it. This is the thing. I'm like, everything at your fingertips, nothing, whatever you want, it will be right there. So I was really early adopter. I think I had one of the first Roku boxes that they had out. And it was actually one that they phased out. And I remember getting an email and saying like, we're not supporting that one anymore. You're going to have to buy something else, kind of a thing. So I was all on board on that. And then you got into where there was more and more streaming services, and I love streaming. So this is not like a anti-streaming, but when that spread out, there was a lot of times it's like, okay, I thought the movie was on here. It was just on here last week. And then it's off there. Is it on another one? Is it gone altogether? So I ran into some of those issues where I then was like starting to buy some physical media. So I do have some. It was kind of funny. Earlier this year, I ran into a box that we had. We went through some boxes, and I found a box of VHS tapes. I thought I got rid of all of the ones I had. So apparently And they're all like really good ones. I was looking through there and I was like, oh, that's a great movie. That's a great movie. And I apparently at some point, and I forgot about it, I probably was like, these are ones I don't want to get rid of. And I put them in a box, forgot about it completely. So it was like
That's
Christmas.
the best feeling though.
It was like Christmas morning. So,
yeah, no.
So I do care. I do hang on to some of them. Now, as I go on buying more physical media, I look at space and want to keep within a certain, like not getting too crazy with everything. So I'll look at it. If I get a 4K of something and I have the Blu-ray or the DVD of it, I'll look and be like, okay, is everything on the higher quality, whatever format that I picked up? If everything's there, the lower, the Blu-ray or the DVD, a lot of times I'll find friends to either trade with or just gift to some people, or sell. But if there's something like a special feature on the lower format, I'll keep it around just to have that.
When it comes to like the 4K to Blu-ray jump, more often than not, if the Blu-ray is included with the 4K, I just get rid of the old Blu-ray.
Yeah.
But Eric from MVD, another friend of the podcast, he didn't send me, but he uses like these little tabs that you can put in your releases, like they're little plastic things that you can kind of, it replicates this, but you can put it on the other side here. So you can put that copy on here.
Yeah.
So I have kind of bought those from Amazon and have used them. So I think that's very ingenious, because sometimes I love getting those special features. And if it's only a 4K release, a lot of the time those don't transfer over. It's just the transfer of the movie.
That's a great way to do it. I need to look at that, because then you would free up the space. You wouldn't have two.
And they just like sticky tack on.
Yeah.
Because space is very limited in my collection right now. So if I can just have the disc and be fine, I will definitely do that.
You're a bigger collection than I am, but everybody has, no matter what size your collection is, you have a space to fit within.
Yes.
And that's not like a negative or positive or like whatever, but you usually kind of line out like, this is where I'm going to keep this collection. And so at some point, no matter how big or how many rooms you decide you want to have that in, at some point you're going to have to start picking and choosing or thin it out a little bit here or there. Space is limited.
Yeah, no, it always is for sure. But when you started collecting movies, when did you first find out what a boutique label was? I'm kind of curious if you found that out in like the DVD days, or if it took until Blu-ray to kind of go over it.
It was very late. I'll admit that. I'm not afraid to admit that at all. It was very, very late. Man, it was like one of those things that diving into YouTube more and following people like in, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, like kind of get into it more, but I was pretty quiet, just kind of like hanging out, watching videos, maybe hang out in chats once in a while. But I was one of those that kind of hung back and just would sit and listen a lot of the times. And I started hearing people talk about things, and Arrow was one of the first ones, and Shout and Scream Factory were not far behind that too, where people started talking about them as a boutique label. And I was like, what? And I started looking through my collection. Not that I had a lot, but I was like, oh wait, I have an Arrow or I have a Scream Factory. And I did not know. I just bought the movie that I wanted to have and did not realize that it was one of those labels. So I am not afraid to admit that I was very, very late to the game to, I guess, pick up on what those are, know about those different labels, and to start seeking them out because I then found out, I'm like, wow, they put out great transfers. They throw in some extras. It's those are great ones to follow. So it was late.
If I had to guess, I would have pegged you for a Criterion guy. That's the one that kind of blossomed you, because whenever we meet up, like that, you go crazy over those Criterion sales.
I love them too. I do. I don't have a ton. I mean, okay, everybody, it's subjective. I have more than some, way less than others. So I won't say that, but I have. So that was definitely even later than Scream and Arrow, but I've enjoyed those quite a bit, just because, man, even the Blu-rays, that's one label too, that if I bought a Blu-ray of a Criterion, I got to think really, really hard if they come out with a 4K later, I want to upgrade.
I'm the exact same way. Their
because
packaging doesn't change.
their packaging's the same. A lot of times all the extras are the same.
Yep.
And man, their transfers on the Blu-rays are pretty darn good in
Agreed.
my book.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some of them where I'm like, I'm okay with the Blu-ray,
Right.
So all said and done, like if it's a newer one that just comes out and there's both of them there and the sale's going on, I'll probably go with the 4K, but
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty hard to jump up for me anyway, from the Blu-ray to the 4K on the Criterion. But I've enjoyed digging into their collection. There's been a lot of good movies that I never came across before,
Mm-hmm.
that I've been exposed to from other people recommending them. Especially when the Criterion sales come around, people put out the recommendations, and I love hearing them because you hear things that you don't normally come across on your own.
Yeah, that's really the only time that I do buy Criterions, or when they're
Me
20
too.
or 25
That's
bucks.
the one
Yeah.
time.
Mm-hmm. I feel like if I spend $40 on a movie, I'm going to be kicking myself because I'm like, I know I can get this for cheaper in just a couple of months.
Yeah, just hold out. And Criterion's one of those too, where it's not like, and you could probably prove me wrong. There are probably some different examples, but there's like most of the time, it's not like, oh, that slipcover is going to run out or it's going to go out of print.
Mm-hmm.
I know they have out of print titles, but when something first comes out or recently within the last few years, there's not that urgency, I guess, for me
I would say
to get it.
the movie's always going to be there, but sometimes the pagging might change. Like you might just get one of their basic plastic releases instead of like the nice like slip out releases that they have, but you're still going to get the movie, and at the end of the day that should be the most important thing.
So. Correct. Yeah. Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah. So. Well, today we kind of you threw Carrie my way to review, and I was very happy you did, because it's one of those movies to where like it's been on my watch list to watch forever, and I've seen the remake and I've never seen the actual movie. The original one. So I'm like, yes, let's go about it. You said you had the Arrow Video one. I said I had the Scream Factory one. So I thought it might be a fun discussion to kind of go over both labels and kind of talk about some pros and cons of both.
Absolutely. And I think that's one thing that we were talking about with all this. When it's all said and done, I think we both love both labels, So, but they both have some pros and cons to them. So I thought that was a interesting take on it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm all in. Yeah, let's talk about them. And it's not like which one's going to win. It's just like, really digging into both of them and, seeing what they're all about.
We went into a fierce battle between Arrow and Criterion over on Movie Mike's channel. That got like my movie battle. Like Screen Junkies used to do like a movie battle thing all the time, and I got my inner Dan Murrell out on people, but now it's just going to be like a pros and cons, a nice discussion piece. So since you have the Arrow Video one, I thought we'd talk about Arrow first. I'm going to play the title card just because they have the best in the business. So this is a big pro for me. So here's this one.
I absolutely love that. I love that. Come on.
Oh man, you can't get better. And I think I got one of their newer titles, and I was sad to learn that they got rid of that. They did like a robotic one, like robots putting together Arrow Video. I'm like, what are you doing?
No, you had the retro. It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's so nice.
It's the best. Arrow Video, I feel like, is a vibe, and I think that's like one of the main reasons why I like them so much, is because they go all over the board with the types of releases that they put out.
That's going to be a point I'll talk about later too. Yeah,
no, go for it. Yeah.
No, we'll keep going. But I was like I told you, I'm not usually like an outline person, but I did throw out a couple bullets. Not saying like one's better than the other, but like definitely different, unique aspects of each of the releases to kind of compare. But that was going to be one, but we don't have to do it now. I'm just throwing that out. I'm like, oh yeah, I thought about that one too.
Well, yeah, we might as well talk about it since it's out in the air. Like you could go horror with Carrie. You could go. They have a whole martial arts line that you could go and pick from. They have great comedy classics like A Fish Called Wanda. Like they go all. They have action movies with Ronin. They can go in any certain genre, and somehow they still all feel like they fit underneath that Arrow umbrella.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that's where I didn't pull all of them out. I have both, um, both of them in my collection.
Okay.
But Arrow is probably taking a bigger spot in mine. I didn't pull them all out, but I started like pulling a few out just to be like, okay, if we're talking about examples to show, I'll have a couple right here to grab. And I was really noticing the diverse range of movies in the area, just even what I have. And I know I have a very small section of what they release. They have a very diverse catalog. They kind of hit a lot of different marks. You got modern-ish mainstream movies. You have horror. You have action. You have comedy. You have westerns. You have niche, like little, like, I don't know. I mean, they go all over the place. Art house movies. They hit a lot of areas on theirs, but and that's not a knock against Scream Factory, but I'm just saying Arrow as a whole, I think they have a very, very wide range that they hit on their releases.
I have my app up right now. That's all of my Arrow video titles, and just glancing at all of them, they go over sci-fi with like 12 Monkeys and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein Legend. They have a lot of great slashers, whether it be the known ones for like, Psycho. They also can kind of go back and throw some nice class on some 70s kind of hidden gems like Alice Sweet Alice. And they just kind of, another area where I kind of want to kind of go in here is that they do box sets so well, whether it be just like a singular Fat Boy release, or they do like that awesome Enter the Video Store box set that they did that had so many great Empire titles in there. It's just it's so reminiscent and fits so many movies of an era into a box set that you're just like, this all fits together. It's all great, and it just absolutely pops.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and exactly what you said. Like when I was like pulling some of the examples out, like you said, I have some like nice box sets that's one single release, but they do like a nice box or a slip, a booklet, posters, things like that with it. Some are multiple movies in the same box, and then some are I have just single standalone releases, and some with a slip, some without, because some I grabbed, too late and I didn't get the slip with it, which is fine. I still got the movie, but man, they kind of hit a lot of different, and that's why you beat us that night. I think, we were doing the whole Criterion and Arrow versus battle, and it was all for fun. I was like throwing up the fight for it, but it's hard to argue the packaging and the releases that Arrow does. They do a great job with it.
Even if it's just like putting the slip cover on there. I feel like if we're comparing slip covers from Arrow Video and slip covers from Scream Factory, I'm going to go Arrow Video every time, just because I feel like their art looks amazing. And they also have steel books that you can kind of throw in the ring too. I mean, I know Scream Factory does as well, but it's nice that they can kind of hit the gambit of so many different types of packaging to put in your collection.
And I don't have a lot of steel books. I think I have one steel book from Arrow, but like you said, even with their little slip boxes that they do with some of them, sometimes it's a regular release with it. Sometimes it's a steel book. I don't have a lot of those, but they mix it up a little bit, you got boxes. I mean, even with the Carrie release that we're talking about tonight, with this, you got a slip on a box, so you got
that looks nice.
You got the slip that comes off, then you got a box. Then inside that, you have the release, you have a poster, and you have a little booklet.
Right.
And another thing, and I know I'm not saying Scream doesn't do it. They have some of them too. And they have reversible art. Yes. So I decided on this one to do like the original because they have this on there. And Arrow does a really good job, I think, with some of their the custom artwork that they do for the releases, So I really love this, but I'm like, oh yeah, if you got the original, I'll flip that around. So I got both.
I think they both do a really good job at like having original artwork as like an alternative if you do have
Yeah,
like the slip cover, so you can show off both of them.
absolutely.
It's very nice like that. I kind of wish that the slip cover that the box came in even had different artwork that was on the box.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, yeah, that's me. I'm right there with you as well. Like, so those are basically the same. I would have totally been like, man, if you had something else there too, that would just be like,
Yeah, cherry on top right there.
yep, absolutely,
For sure. Yeah. And do you want to go over one of your pinpoints? I feel like I've done a couple now.
Well, so one of mine was going to be, man, so we were hitting a lot of them that I was talking about where I felt Arrow, maybe it would swing their way. And like I said, at the end of the day, I know both of us love both, Scream Factory
Yes.
and Arrow.
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't like knocking one or the other, but, when we were talking about diverse catalog, I think Arrow hits that one more. I
agree. I mean, Scream Factory is kind of in the horror. They've got a stranglehold on that genre.
Yeah.
And they have like a shout select that they can do their own, the dramas and comedies and all that stuff. But it is kind of nice that Arrow Video, just everything fits into one and they're not really focusing on one specific genre.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have some like, so Carrie, that's well known. I had like the box set for, like for Conan, like,
Right.
Here,
I'm gonna make. If you want to, let's do like a nice Arrow Video showcase. I didn't grab any of mine, so if you want to just go ahead and show off some of the beautiful Arrow Video stuff you have, that'd be great.
This is a great set right here. The 4K Conan, if I could talk. Very great one. Movies I grew up with, man, that is a nice set. I'm not going to say like I have a gigantic collection, but I do have a few. But then you're talking about steelbooks. You had Weird Science was one that I had to get.
I love that steelbook. I feel like not enough people talk about how amazing that steelbook is.
And sorry, there's a glare with a little package on there.
You're good, yeah.
But that's always a fun movie. And this is kind of when you dig into this, you like see some of the diversity that they have in their releases. This is another one. I really enjoyed this one. And when it came out, I was like, I pre-ordered Witness.
Yep.
So another nice, you got the slip box, you got the release, you got a poster, you got a little book in there. And it might be repetitive, kind of same deal, but True Romance, that was another fun one.
And they made two different boxes for that.
They had the steelbook too.
Yeah, I have the one with the steelbook inside of it. It's just, it's cool that they kind of put that much attention into the same movie,
Absolutely. Love that. So if you go to more of a standard release with just a slip, we got 16 Candles, like diversity of releases. One of my favorite movies of all time, and one that I missed out on the box of, and I will regret that, but I put the original artwork on. I flipped it around, but RoboCop is one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah,
as a kid growing up.
I have the steelbook for that one, and I think that steelbook is mighty nice.
I agree with you. I'll agree completely. But yeah, you just got to keep on going through. And like I said, you're going to see some of my sci-fi, like at Roots that I'm talking about, loving.
Sure.
You got Pitch Black.
Nice.
And so no slip or anything, but still a very great transfer and extras.
There's something about like the fattier cases to me, just to have them stand out a little bit more on your shelf,
Yep.
Looks so nice.
They definitely do. Man, just going through. And then they do some different things with the slips too. So like one of them I had was Flatliners.
Okay.
And
you
got the shine. And it's weird. And some people will like look at me funny, but like the feel of the slip, it's got a texture to it. Yep. It's hard to explain, but it's got like a texture to it.
It does not feel like a standard release at all, which No, and for the people just listening to this right now, it kind of has like a shine on some of the different touches of that Flatliners slip cover.
Yep.
Looks very nice.
Absolutely. And so other releases I had, another import I got, and I enjoyed this one. This was a recent watch for me too, but Sisters Brothers.
I haven't seen that one. Yeah, it's one I've wanted to watch. I have it in the collection. I just haven't seen it yet.
Nope, it was very good. I enjoyed that one. I love going into Westerns, so that's where I enjoyed Arrow having some of those. So you got The Far Country.
Okay.
So you got a little bit of, James Stewart in there. You got, that kind of range. But then this is where and I'm gonna admit, you can call me out on it. There's a lot of these box sets I have not gotten all the way through by a long shot,
Okay.
but I picked them up on pretty good sales. But this is the diversity of Arrow. You got like these Blood Money.
Mm-hmm.
You got the Western sets.
Yeah.
You have another one that I grabbed was this Gothic Fantastico. I'll say
I don't think I've seen that one before, Corey. Yeah, that looks nice.
So that's where I'm like, I'll dig into some stuff, but I'm gonna admit I have not gotten through. I need to get digging into them. We have the Count Yorga.
Mm-hmm.
You got the releases, you got the book, and then this is one that was recommended to me. It was Italian like cop gangster type movies, but we got Years of Lead.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So this isn't the big one, like you said. Sometimes they do thin them out a little bit.
Right.
So there was an original bigger box
Mm-hmm.
and it had a booklet. I don't have that one, but yeah. I mean, so anyway, kind of run through some of those, but
Yeah,
that's where they definitely have a wide gamut of movies that they'll hit.
agreed. And I guess since we've talked so much positivity about them, I have to throw a con their way.
Come on.
Because I am from the States and they are based out of the UK. If you go and get a Blu-ray, they're going to be region B locked, which is kind of unfortunate. And you have to have a region free player to play it anywhere you want to go.
Yes.
4Ks, you don't have to worry about that. But
Yep.
I have a few region B Blu-rays when I was like collecting steelbooks heavily that I got over there. I want to say the Killer Clowns one that I have is a region B. There's a couple more mixed in, but
Okay.
I have one region free player, but I have multiple rooms that I can watch stuff in. I can only watch those certain releases in that one in particular room. So just the whole region locking thing is a negative all around, but it definitely sprinkles itself on Arrow Video.
I agree completely. I can't argue against that at all. And that's the same with me too. I do have one room that I also have a region free Blu-ray player that I can watch those on. So it's not a problem as long as I can get that TV. And sometimes with family, like sometimes that TV is being taken up by somebody. So yes, I would say that's a con because all the others I can watch at any of my TVs, but
correct.
The region B locked ones, I only have one player that can do it. It's one TV. So yeah, for sure. And like the Carrie that we're talking about tonight, the one that I have, so it is 4K, but it's an import. So sometimes getting those can be more expensive if you don't have a good place to go to get them. So I'd say that's another little knock on it as well. But
yeah, I got the True Romance. I didn't realize we were ever going to get it in the States. It came out a year later in the States, but as soon as I got announced in the UK, I grabbed it because I absolutely adore that movie, and that steelbook looks so nice.
Oh, it's a good one.
Thankfully, both of the discs that were in there or all the special features were on the 4K disc, so I didn't have to worry about the region.
Oh, nice.
B aspect of the Blu-ray.
I have ran into that one time before. Oh gosh, I'm blanking on which one it was. Where, yes, it was a 4K release. And that was region free, but before I had my region free player, all the extras were on a Blu-ray that was region B locked.
Yeah, it's
so
rough.
I couldn't get it. Now I can. It's not fine, but not everybody is in that spot to be able to watch those. So
right. I'm a big special features guy. If you've listened to the podcast enough, that's like one of my main selling factors for collecting physical media. So if it is locked behind a different region, it just it makes me sad. Like I know that there's still a way for me to watch it. It's just not as accessible as I want it to be,
Well, man, some of these, so both of these labels, you can have some extra features on there that are the same length, double or more of what the actual feature film is. So you could have, like, you think about that, like how much you have to pay for them. Somebody could be like, oh, wow, those are a little more expensive. But if you get some of those that have those, okay, you have the movie, but then the special features could be double the time, the watching time of what the feature film is even. And I think if you dig into them, there's a lot of value there.
There's a great archival documentary on this Carrie that I'll talk a little bit about once we get to it. But it was so nice to have some behind the scenes footage, because there's one aspect of this movie that shocked me when it came to like the casting process. That's all I'll get at right now.
Okay.
But it was,
now I'm interested, because I probably missed that.
My tail was wagging hard when I got those juicy bits, Corey. I tell you
You're
what.
like, ooh, we're going to talk about that one.
Right. Well, was there anything else you wanted to talk about Arrow Video, either pro or con, before we kind of switch over?
I think we had a lot of those. I think Arrow, like I said, a lot of positives are diverse catalog. The packaging, they do a great job with it, and they have a variety as well. You know, you can miss out on some things, but they do have some options where if you don't want the big deluxe box set with the book, you know, you can get just the single release. But then cons, some of those, because of licensing issues, you might have some region locked features that you can't get to if you don't have a player that can do that. So I think they got a little bit on both sides of the fence there. So
I would say the pros definitely outweigh the cons on this one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree too.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to be fair.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. Like the region lock is by far like the most nitpicky con you can have. But honestly, I can't really think of a lot of cons for Arrow Video. I think they are one of my they've been one of my favorite boutique labels to collect for ever since I started, I don't know, almost a decade ago now. So
I'm going to be completely honest. When we did that little competition of Arrow versus Criterion, and I was put on Criterion, I love Criterion, so it's not a knock against them, but I was like, oh crap, we got a uphill battle here.
you guys almost had us too. We had a come from behind victory. So
and like I said, both are great. So
right, correct.
Same in this situation.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of comments in here that I was not even really.
Oh, sorry.
Looking at. I was just talking, so I'm gonna
talking.
I'm gonna go through a bunch of them. We got Laren in here. We got Rugary 21. How's it going?
Carrie, what's up, man?
Good evening. Got Happy Optimist in here. Yep. Wilky's in here.
I said
Tiana's in here. Let's see here. Keep on going. A lot of haze and whatnot. So that's always
you gotta love it.
Yep. Laren's making BLTs right now. Cannot go wrong with a good BLT, especially with the fresh tomato. That's yes, very very good stuff. But let's see here. Happy Optimist always throws in a bunch of questions my way.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. The first one he has. Okay, Willy Wonka. I know that. Yes, he calls you Willy Wonka, I think, or Wilky Wonka. What are your 4 favorite films? I know that you are on Letterboxd, so I don't know if you know those off the top of your head, or if you just want to throw out a few that you really like right now.
I don't. I'll just throw out some I like, but it will change the next time you ask me as well, so don't hold that against me. But I'd say like 4 films that I really, really like, but I'm not saying top ever. Unforgiven, Shawshank Redemption,
great one.
RoboCop, and oh gosh, Heat.
Oh, Heat's one that I really need to rewatch. I haven't seen that sucker in so long. I haven't seen the 4K yet either, and I have it. So
it's hit or miss for people.
Oh, I loved it at the time. I just feel like it's one that like over time your tastes can change on movies.
Absolutely.
Sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. But I feel like Heat is one that I really appreciated in my 20s. Now that I'm in my 30s, I feel like I need to give it a rewatch and just kind of see it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Let's see here. We got Caveman in here. Please hit the like button for the sexy NPR voice Corey. There you go.
Thank you, sir.
Let's see here. Is there a movie that you never really wish existed? That's how bad it was.
I don't know.
I'm not really negative about.
Hated something so bad that it can't exist.
Correct.
Like there's definitely movies that I'm like, that's not me, but I can see where somebody could enjoy it. I don't know. That's a tough one. I guess I don't have one to throw out for that.
Yeah, because I feel like if I hate the movie, there's going to be somebody out there that does love the movie.
Sure.
So
for sure,
I wouldn't want to erase that for anybody.
Absolutely.
Totally get that.
Absolutely.
Tiana loves the look of that Arrow Video Carrie set.
Thank you, Arrow. Arrow. I was going to say Tiana.
Let's see here. Robert, Dr. Doomy. Yes, that was kind of a crazy reveal on Saturday for sure.
A lot of talk.
Yes, my shocking first watches. Carrie is definitely one of them. That's one of the reasons why I made this podcast, to give me a reason to kind of pull things off the shelf that I've had on there for way too long, you know?
But that's a great thing. I mean, we all have movies that are like the ones that people are like, I can't believe you've never watched that before. But it gives you an excuse to do it. So.
I've had a lot of them on here.
Oh,
Like some I have already watched before, but like I've watched 12 Angry Men, I've watched Witness. Now I'm watching Carrie on here. It's just like movies that I've needed to watch. I've just never really either felt like, oh, I can watch that some other time, or I just haven't been in the right mode. Like if you force yourself to watch something, it's kind of nice. And yeah, Carrie's a great example of that.
Well, and anybody that gives you grief about that, they have many movies in their, that they have not seen, in their blind spot. So everybody has them. But
let's see here. Happy Optimist really wants you to watch John Wick 4.
Oh yeah, I got it. I actually haven't watched it yet.
It's great. Have you seen the other ones?
Yes. I've seen the first 3. Yes.
Ooh. If you've seen the first 3, you really need to see 4.
I own 4, but I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah. If you want to do a podcast on John Wick Chapter 4, I would love to. Corey.
There we go. So again, another movie that can be thrown on my I can't believe you haven't watched it yet list. Right.
Laren's erasing Halloween Ends.
Oh, there you
I can
go.
kind of see that, but I don't think I absolutely hated that. Like the only movie that I could see myself erasing from cinematic history would be a movie called Future World. Like I don't rate. I think that's the only movie that I've given a half a star to on Letterboxd. I hated it so much. It's like a direct-to-DVD movie with James Franco and Mila Jovovich and Snoop Dogg and Method Man. Like it was just post-apocalyptic garbage. Just time I wish I had back. But I mean, even then, at least I have that memory of how bad it was, and I watched it with a group of friends. So I don't know if I'd want to erase that either.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
Don't.
Yeah, don't. You're good.
Yeah, I recommend that you don't see it.
Put others ahead of that.
Yes, correct.
John Wick 4 ahead of that.
Absolutely, yes. John Wick 4 should be very, very high for sure. Let's see here. We talked about the Arrow video side of things. I also have an intro to play for Scream Factory. It doesn't have sound for some reason, but the sound is very whatever anyway. So I'll throw the 5-second clip for Scream Factory up here now.
Let's do it. That's a good one too.
Yeah, it's okay, I guess. Like
it's good.
I'm a big fan of like the Shout Factory one, like the typewriter when it comes down. That's very nice. Just like the Graveyard Skull and the Howling Wolf when that comes up. I think like it's okay, but it's not. It's no Arrow video. I will say that.
Right.
But yeah, Scream Factory. Scream Factory was the main boutique label that really got me into loving collecting for boutique labels.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. The first one that I really noticed that was a Scream Factory release was John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh yeah.
I fell in love with that movie. It's now my favorite movie of all time. I watched it for the first time when I was like 27, I think.
Okay.
And just completely bowled me over. So I collected as many copies of that movie as I possibly could. And the Scream Factory version had the making of documentary on there. So good. I just any type of juicy bits I can get on the making of, I will squeeze as much juice as I possibly can out of it. So
for sure.
Yeah, as soon as I got my hands on that Scream Factory edition of The Thing and just saw all of the nice special features that were on there, I did not look back. I just collected Scream Factory like crazy, man.
They do a good job with it. I'll say that. That's where it's like it's fun to like do the pros and cons of each of these, but both have some very strong pros. We'll say that.
Right. Yeah. I guess since we're talking about both now, special feature wise, who do you think does better, worse, about the same? What do you think?
And maybe it's just the releases I have, but I probably give it to Arrow for the ones I have in my collection. But I'm not saying Scream doesn't have anything either. And you could be like, oh, you don't have this one? This one's awesome, and has like tons of stuff. And I just might not have it in the collection. But for what I have in, probably Arrow, I would lean towards a little bit more. But how about you?
I think that they are both S tier when it comes to special features. I think like boutique label wise, they both knock it out of the park. I guess if I really had to choose one, I would do Arrow because I have gotten more special features out of there. Like I feel like that there's more making of documentaries with Arrow as opposed to Scream Factory where there's a lot of interviews.
Yeah,
Like
agree.
that's a big thing for me. If you can like put those interviews in a nice documentary
Yeah.
and have it be entertaining throughout, that's like next level experience. Just
Yeah.
throwing an interview in there kind of seems a little bit lazy to me. Sometimes it works more than it doesn't, but I mean, I feel like they ask the same questions to every single person that they interview, and it just kind of gets monotonous after a while, I guess.
Yeah. No, I can see that for sure. Yeah, if you mix it up a little bit, how
Mhm.
you present it, I could see that for sure. Coming across a little more entertaining than just a straight up interview on
Right.
those for sure. But like you said, both have some great special features. And I think that's a selling point of both of them too,
Hmm.
where, so we'll just say neither of them are on the cheap side of movies. I would say, I'm not saying they're crazy or out of, like, they're not asking for more than what they deserve, but
Right.
they're not the budget buys most of the time.
Hmm.
But I think they throw in a lot of extra stuff, whether it's packaging and or the bonus features that it's like, yeah, this is what you're getting. That's why you're paying a little bit more for this release than just your standard Blu-ray off a shelf.
Right. And I will say for another pro, if you are either a huge mega fan of horror or if you're just starting to get into the genre, I would suggest Scream Factory hands down because they have
Yeah,
a little bit of everything from like every subgenre of horror that you can possibly imagine.
yeah, absolutely.
And I know we're not talking about like the Shout Factory, Shout Select side of things, but
Well, you can throw
that's
that out there.
that's kind of where you can. That's where Umbrella kind of throws in a little bit of everything. That's where you
Yeah,
can get like TV show releases. You can
right.
get freaking like World Series stuff. It's just a lot of everything from the Shout Factory. So I kind of do like the sub branching of Scream Factory, Shout Select. I like
Right.
to collect all of their stuff, but it is kind of cool that they have like a subdivision underneath the Shout Studios umbrella, I guess.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Absolutely.
And I know that Arrow Video, we talked about the steel books, but it is nice to see boutique labels come out with steel books. It bums
Yeah,
me out that we don't have a Criterion steel book for anything.
they don't. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's nice that these boutique labels, because I feel like their steelbook releases are just they look a little bit nicer than everybody else's. They put more love and care and attention into their stuff that I've seen. Like I love collecting steelbooks, but like some of the major studio releases from time to time, it just feels like they kind of slap chop some stuff together. But definitely with the boutique labels, they put some thought and care into how they kind of package their discs.
Yeah. And with Arrow too, there's been some of those where I had some of the box sets I was showing of the single releases, like the True Romance, or, some of those where I have the regular release in there, but some of them, they had the steelbook in there as well too. So they were kind of
Right.
packaging them in different ways to be able to send them out to people. But no, for sure. But they both do a good job with it. I'm trying to think. I know a few I don't have steelbooks for that I know Arrow has them for.
Hmm.
Do you see more on one side or the other for the steelbooks?
I definitely say Scream Factory
Yeah,
has
yeah.
more
Okay.
steelbook than
Yeah,
Arrow Video
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
The Arrow Video ones stand out more in my mind,
Yeah.
but the Scream Factory ones, they had a line that had like the same type of artwork. Like I was in a big Carpenter phase in like 2018, 2019, and there are so many Carpenter movies that have like the same steelbook aesthetic. Like here is one for Prince of Darkness. I don't have
Oh
the
yeah.
actual steelbook with me, but there's a lot that just kind of pick a color and make it absolutely shine. I'm trying to find more on here. Here's some that aren't just I can make mine a little bit bigger too here. And it's not the best case scenario, but they just have a whole
Oh,
line of
nice.
steel books that look phenomenal. Like here's one if it loads for the fog, maybe. Here we go. This
Oh,
one looks
nice.
very,
Yeah.
very nice. And once they made the jump to 4K, they kind of got rid of that aesthetic. But like even their 4K steel books look great. Like the one that they did for Pumpkinhead, I thought it just
Oh,
kind of
I love that
yeah,
one. Yeah.
it screams just like yeah, that's what you want to see. You want to see the Beast, and you can even compare that to their old Blu-ray steelbook that I have.
I
I
think
want
that
to
still
see.
looks cool too.
I like them. I like them both. Correct.
Yeah,
And
right.
they're making a difference in their packaging, which is kind of nice. You can't the Criterion side of things. Or I don't even know if Kino really does that when they kind of upgrade their stuff.
Yeah.
So I would also, Spicy 4K Action throws in a Kino Steelbook. That'd be great.
Yeah, right.
I would love to get a Kino Lorber Steelbook as well.
I don't know if they'll go into that or not, but like you said, it's cool when they make a difference between the releases. So a Blu-ray to 4K. So you're showing the pumpkin head there. Like that would, to me, that's like more of a selling point of not just the higher resolution of the movie, but like if you make the packaging a little different, you know, throw some special artwork out, make them different. That can, I think that's a better selling point, you know, for somebody to like, if I already got one in my collection, why do I want to buy the other one? Tell me why I should buy that.
1,000% agree. And this is a great way to lead me into my biggest con out of either company.
Okay.
The Scream Factory puts no effort into their 4K transfers like that they had Blu-ray. Like the packaging is different. That's great. And that is a selling point for some people. If I already have the Blu-ray and the only thing that you're changing is the 4K transfer, there's no new special features on there, it kind of gives me less of a reason to pick up your release, even if there is new packaging.
Right. And that's where I think both of these are Scream Factory, but two of them that I ended up picking up on a sale were Upgrade and World War Z. And they had no slip, nothing else. So I know somebody will come down on me and be like, you should only be worried about the movie. And I appreciate that they both look great. I love them. So I'm not saying like, I wish I never would have bought them. They're a horrible company. I'm not saying that. But when you come out and they kind of have a premium price on them to come out out of the gate, sometimes you got to throw a little extra on there to help people come buy them. And I think sometimes they have some of those that come out that there's nothing really extra to them. There might be some bonus features, so I'm not discounting that at all. And I'm like I've said, not trashing the company. I love them. Both those releases I think look great, and I love that I have them in 4K. So not trashing that at all. But
it is just the little things too. Like, why would you come out with a new release that is new to your catalog and not throw a slipcover on there?
Yeah.
I don't think the slipcover costs that much extra compared to what you're charging anyway.
And
for me,
it's a premium price when it first comes out too.
Yes, very, very much so. Like, I really love Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to You. They came out with that, but it didn't come with a slip, and there was no way I was going to pay $35 just for like your basic case, which is kind of sad in a way, but I'm a collector and packaging is part of that collecting experience. So I waited to find them used. I found them for less than $20 instead of that $35 brand new.
Well, if there's nothing extra to be thrown on there, why wouldn't you wait for a sale or used or, you know, something like that? And like I said, I know somebody will probably not like me saying that, but, and I'm not saying like I said, I love them. I think they look great. I'm glad they put them on 4K and I'm glad I have them in my collection. But if you want somebody to like, a lot of people come out and buy them day one at a premium price. I think you got to throw a little something extra on there, but that's just me.
Yep. Yeah. Make me think less about my purchase. Make it be like more of an impulse as to be like on the fence about it. Don't make your physical media purchases on the fence. Like persuade me to spend that money, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I know somebody can be like, oh, you're promoting FOMO or whatever, but that's the thing. Like if you're going to charge a premium price, give somebody a reason to go out and pay that price. Like you're buying it because you can get this that might not be available later. You know,
See, I think it's the opposite of FOMO. If you're just giving me a bare bones release, you're going to have X amount of them and I think they're going to stay. And if they don't, I'm okay if I don't get them.
Right.
Yeah, I'm okay if I miss out, you know, just, throw all those extra bells and whistles in there. And I'm a sucker for sometimes if it's the right title, I will pay day one prices just because I want to have this title in my collection. I don't want to pay like scalping prices afterwards, you know? Like Nightmare on Elm Street, Zavi came out with a nice box set because we're not getting anything.
Yeah.
like we're just getting that steel book. It's kind of nice that a third party company is putting together a nice set, and I usually don't pay up for those, but that's one of my favorite horror movies of all time, so I did it for this one.
I guess I don't know the one I pre-ordered that as well through Orbit.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's Zavi, but there's the import box set that I'm getting through them. So maybe it is Zavi. I just don't know what, but that was one I jumped on because I love that movie and I knew they were going to have a great set for it. And now they finally released the artwork
Image. Yes.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I'm good.
People that buy those blind, I have no idea how you can do that. I have to look at everything I'm getting before I put my money down.
Well, especially with, you look at some of the prices on those sets. I mean, you got one movie, and I'm not saying it's not worth it, but if you're like $50-$60 for one movie and you don't know what's coming with it, what the artwork is on it, that's tough to jump on right away.
I can't do it. There's no way. I need to know everything that I'm paying for before I pay for it. But
and
to each their own, I guess.
No, I don't blame you at all.
Yeah. Well, let's see here. We're almost an hour in. And
okay, sorry.
Really talked a little bit into Carrie, Corey. So,
okay, sorry.
No, that's totally fine. But I feel like we should start talking a little bit about the movie to kind of get our thoughts focused on this movie. I do have a TV trailer that I want to play before we start talking about it. So, here's a TV spot for Carrie.
It's the night of the senior prom, and everybody is there, even Carrie White. The girl no one likes, and everyone makes fun of. The girl who lives in that creepy house with her cruel mother. The girl with the strange power. But tonight, no one will laugh at Carrie. She'll be voted queen of the prom. For Carrie, it will be a dream come true. For everyone else, it will be a nightmare. Carrie, a new film by Brian De Palma, starring Sissy Spacek, Piper Laurie, and John Travolta in his first motion picture role. If you have a taste for terror, you have a date with Carrie. Rated R.
God, I love trailers from back then.
I know.
It looks so. It just like puts you back into that time frame, and
absolutely.
God, they did not hide much.
No,
my God.
So honestly, that was the first thing that went through my mind when I was talking to somebody about, like, man, I hate how much trailers are given away these days. And I was watching this one. I'm like, yeah, they didn't hold a whole lot back on this one either.
God, no.
Yeah.
You couldn't. And one thing I guess I didn't realize about this movie going into it was like how brutal it actually is. Like not just on a horror sense. I guess a horror sense when it comes to like the supernatural aspect of things, but just like the horror aspect of like the high school side of things too.
Yeah.
It really does not hold any punches.
No, not at all. Yeah. And I think that's why it still holds up. No, not to like spoil anything, but I'm like, yeah, it's a great movie. I think a great horror movie.
Oh, when we talk about movies, Corey, we go full in depth on them, especially for a movie that's been out almost 50 years.
Okay. Yep.
So I'm okay to spoil it. I'll first go why it's been so long since I've seen this movie, because I've never seen it. When the original, or I guess when the remake came out of Carrie, which I think is getting a Scream Factory 4K release.
I believe so.
I hated it. I did not like that movie whatsoever. So when I came out of that movie, I'm like, I don't even have any interest of seeing the original. So it was a decade plus, and it just kind of sitting on the shelf. I bought it because I'm like, I will watch it one of these days. And I finally watched it, and it's one of those movies to where I'm kicking my own ass for sitting on it for so long. Because, man, there are so many things I love about this movie.
Oh, and that was the cool thing about this too. When we started talking about it, I was like, it was funny how that worked out, where I've seen the original, never saw the remake. You saw the remake, never saw the original. And so it was kind of funny to go into it that way. So I still have not seen the remake, but you were kind of like, you're okay.
Right. And the remake is made by the director who directed Boys Don't Cry. So like it's
Okay.
not a nobody directing it, which a lot of these horror remakes are.
Yeah.
It wasn't good. Like it just felt like I wouldn't say it felt like a parody. It just felt like they're going through the motions on a movie that's
Right.
already been out, even though I'd never seen that original film.
Right.
And when I'm watching the original film, it feels so fresh. Like it still feels like it holds up. It's a timeless film almost, even though there are some like 70s aesthetics sprinkled in.
Right.
It still feels like, yeah, this could still happen today, be set today, and I would totally believe it.
Yep, absolutely. For sure. I'm glad. So yeah, spoiler, but you liked it.
Yeah, I loved it.
Okay.
This is one of those movies to where like I was on cloud 9 for the majority of its runtime. Horror movies they get a bad rap.
Right?
I think this is a great prime example of a movie done right, because
Yeah, absolutely.
the way it does not hold any punches, the way that everything seems believable. That floored me. Each character does not seem like an actor or actress. It seems like a person that you could know from your high school days.
Absolutely. And that's one thing too. I'm so glad you liked it. I really like this one. So, okay, everybody can be like, I'm not saying greatest horror movie ever, but I enjoyed it. And that's like what you're saying right there. I can come back and rewatch it. So I rewatched it when I bought this Arrow box of it. So just within the last couple months, I rewatched it. And it had been quite a while. I still enjoyed it so much. And it still held up so much. And man, Sissy Spacek, I think she was great in that role. And no, it still holds up really well for me. And I always forget it was De Palma that did this one too.
I was gonna bring that up. Like, and his name is even spelled weird in the opening credits. There's no space in Day and Palma. It's just De Palma in one word.
You're like, no, it's De Palma.
Yeah, and honestly, like that's what kind of elevated this movie for me is just the cinematography, the way that things are shot. It looks so sharp and clean, and there are camera angles that are just smart. Like they're, instead of just like kind of jump cutting in the prom scene from like the girl holding the wire to dump the bucket to the bucket, it's a one shot that just takes its time, goes like 90 seconds from where they are underneath the area to go and follow the rope all the way to the top. It's done so beautifully in a oneer. It's just things like that elevated this movie so highly for me.
I agree. I think they did a lot of, I mean, for the time, probably, especially a lot of neat filming techniques with it. So that one jumped out at me a lot. And then also, I mean, right off the bat, like even the shower scene, like going into like setting up like the trauma that she's having and her disconnection with the other kids in the class and even the teachers in it. But some of the angles that they put in that too, you could tell they were thinking about it. It wasn't just like you said, not just jump cuts and like throwing it all together.
Whenever like a movie opens up with like opening nudity in the title card, I always think about Knocked Up when they're doing like that Mr. Skin thing, and they're like, "Oh, Bush!" Like when they're watching the movie. But like just. It looks like a dream sequence in the locker room, and that dream quickly turns into a nightmare when the period happens for the first time. But the same aesthetic is still kind of there. Like it's not slow mode anymore. It kind of just like rushes in, but like her just kind of washing herself and then just seeing the blood come down in the shower. It's especially if you don't know what's going on. It's a very horrific scene.
Yeah, but I think it set it up so well. I guess kind of pointing out her sheltered life at home, but then her disconnection with some of the other, kids within her class too. And then that just built that tension like throughout the movie, like, in building up to, to that prom scene, for sure.
But there's so many good things along the way. Like this movie is a slow build, but I never felt the length of the movie. Like the movie isn't that long either. It's like 97 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, it's not
but
bad.
You don't get into a lot of the juicy horror bits until like an hour in. Like I would say from the shower scene to the prom, it's probably 45 minutes. And I never felt the length of that, just because I was so engrossed with each and every character and what they were trying to decide to do for certain reasons, whether they are good or bad. I don't know. This movie just kind of like had me on my toes and had my attention for the entire time.
I completely agree. So that's where somebody I can see where somebody could come in and watch this and say like, oh, it's slow. But I would say like what you're saying, I think too, it's like putting that pot of water on the stove and turn it to high. It doesn't boil instantly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it takes a little while, but you know what's going to happen, and you can kind of see things kind of multiplying and going along the way, where it's like, this is building up, it's brewing up. And, when you have a payoff at the end, I think like this one did, you definitely can see why they took their time with it.
A masterful filmmaker like De Palma, he knows what he has, and he doesn't need to kind of throw random jump scares your way, or just like throw away scenes that don't mean anything but might be a little bit more exciting than what's going on. He knows that the characters that are in here will make or break this movie, and whether it be just like John Travolta being a very one-dimensional character, but I laughed every time he was on screen, even though he was like hitting women because they're not really like paying attention to him or like calling him dirty names. It's just, I don't know.
I told you not to call me that anymore.
the main guy who took Carrie to prom, how was he not in more things? Like, he is amazing in this movie.
So I remember him from, is that American's Greatest Hero? Or there was a TV show he was in. Okay. It was kind of a comedy superhero type movie, and now I'm completely sorry. I'm blanking on the name.
Oh no, you're fine. William Catt is his name. Sorry, I had to look it up. And he has been in a lot of films, but I don't remember him in anything. It looks like a lot of this stuff was a lot of like direct to DVD stuff.
The Greatest American Hero he was in. It was a series. I just found it. I remember watching that one, and I really liked him in that. And it was way before I knew him in Carrie. But yeah, it said it ran from 81 to 86. And not to go way off on path on this one, but it had a cool premise to it, where an alien, like a thing falls down, where there's a suit that has special powers, and he loses the instruction manual that comes with it, you know? And so he's trying to like fumble and figure out his way to go through that. But anyway, that's how I knew him.
Well, it is kind of funny that he kind of went that superhero route. Yeah. One cool thing that's on this release on the special features disc is a very old like making of documentary called Acting Carrie. And in that, the juicy tidbit that I was kind of teasing at the beginning, when they were casting this film, both De Palma and George Lucas had a dual casting session for Carrie and for Star Wars.
Oh,
so really? They went back and forth on who would play what and what actors would be better in what movie. William Catt originally went out for Luke Skywalker.
Okay.
Didn't end up getting that part, and he ended up getting the part in this movie. Who else was it? There was a Nancy Allen. She went for Princess Leia. That did not work out, so now she ended up being the villain of this movie.
And then RoboCop I was talking about later.
Yeah.
She was in there too, you know.
She is. And complete opposite character.
Absolutely.
Carrie to RoboCop, yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
She is a total assoble in this
movie.
Oh,
yeah. Her and Travolta in this one, you don't have a lot of sympathy for them.
Yes, absolutely. But I mean, I also love to hate them, you know? Like they did their job perfectly. Like they were despicable people, and yet I could not get enough of watching them be despicable.
Them and the mom, I had to look it up here, but Piper Laurie.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, she made a good villain in this one too.
Correct. One of my favorite slasher films is the original Halloween. So when I saw the girl with the hat in here, I'm like, oh, she's from that. She's the one that kind of is dating somebody and like has the mask, Michael Myers, the ghost sheet, Michael Myers come after her. Cute Bob, real cute, like that type of quote.
Yeah.
She's been in, I didn't realize she was in Carrie, and she's in this film. So she's in two very good, prolific horror movies. It was just nice to see her pop up in this. And I feel like everybody in here, like whether it's her doing just like a nothing role, really, her charismatic attitude kind of like elevates that nothing character. Same with like the two misfit characters that kind of help Nancy Allen and John Travolta go on. Just like how dim-witted they are kind of helps elevate their memory in your brain. I don't know. I absolutely I adored this movie. There was one thing about this movie that I did not like, and I don't know if you want me to go into that yet or not. Uh-oh. I think Corey is frozen. Okay, I'm going to have to just go rogue and go into the part that I did not like about this movie. I thought heading up to the prom scene, I thought this movie was absolutely 5-star material.
Absolutely.
But the one part that I did not like was the last 10 minutes of this movie.
Oh, okay.
Didn't like it at all in the least bit. It felt like it was from a completely different movie.
And I'm going to say, I apologize if I cut out there a little bit. We
got through it. Yep. Okay. It's all good.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to say we have some storms rolling through, so I apologize for that.
Yep.
But
anyway. Those were in my neck of the woods about 90 minutes ago. So
yep, and that makes sense because now they're here.
Yep, correct.
But anyway, yes, the last 10 minutes you were like.
I do want to talk about the ending of this movie a little bit, just because this movie was at such a high for me, and then like it's not even like the mom coming after her and killing her like that. That's fine with me. It's the whole house falling down on itself. Like that is never explained. Weird. That doesn't come into play. That's never foreshadowed or anything.
Yeah.
And then for them to do the really shitty jump scare at the end with the hand out of the ashes. I'm just like, you're better than this, Carrie.
Yeah.
You were so good up until this point. And it's just like, I don't understand what happened.
I agree. That feels like a big turn in the movie. I agree with that completely. Because you don't know why she has her powers, and
that's fine.
That's fine.
You don't need to go into explanations about that. I loved how she looked into like
she's studying it up
in her books, like just becoming like a library bookworm and going to town and that stuff. That's fine. Just trying to figure out what's going on.
Yep.
But when you don't tell us why things are going on with the house and the crumbling and how important that third act is, it's just like it felt very hollow to me.
I agree. Yeah. So I agree completely that I don't care that I don't know how she got her powers. And I agree. I like how she was like, what's going on with me? What's happening? She's like studying it up in the library. But I agree with like, how does that relate to the house imploding, like imploding and like going into the ground.
Right.
And then you have the dream sequence at the end. Like you said, the jump scare. Yeah. So yeah, like you said, if you could just change 10 minutes of a movie, that would be the 10 minutes you'd change.
And I will say that I'm not going to say what happens at the end of the remake of Carrie, but they do something a little bit different, I guess. They don't change it for the better in my opinion either, but I don't know. I don't know if there's a way to crack Carrie to where, God, hell, just end in the prom. You don't even need like the mom scene. You really don't.
Right.
And I get like you want to show her sympathetic going in here because she is still trying to figure out what the hell's going on with her, and her kind of killing everybody might just be like, I've wanted to do this for so long, but I didn't really want to do this type of thing.
Right.
I don't know. I always watch the movie while I'm recording the podcast, and it's at that scene right now. And it's just, I don't know. It's bad.
Oh, you got it going right now?
I do. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Okay,
always
cool.
With the mute on and stuff, but it brings up like good discussion.
Oh, dang it. I should have.
Like right now, like
to do that too.
There are probably 1,000 candles in her house.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't know. Her mom is a super ultra religious person, so it must have to do with something like that. And it looks great, but again, just does that have to deal with the fact of the house burning down? Or I just don't know. I don't.
That's when she's coming back from the prom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I agree with you completely. Man, that's where she's so sweet and so I don't know. withdrawn and quiet. And that's why I thought that made that prom scene so powerful, because it was finally like she just snapped. She was realizing some of the powers that she had. And I don't think she was like, I'm going to use these for evil and get back to people. But so much stuff happened. Things were building up, and you always talk about the straw that broke the camel's back, and like that was the point where she just had a moment where when the blood and everything happened, she snapped, and she gave in to those powers, the feelings, and just like let it out. And I agree with you. That almost would be a more powerful ending, like wrapping it up at that point. I don't know.
I mean, I think that would be a good sense, but that would only make like for a 65, 70-minute movie.
Right.
They have to throw something else in there. And I don't hate the mom turn. And I really love like the crucifixion scene of the knives coming with her like this. I think that's a very powerful scene as well, because she doesn't want to do it, but her mom is right about to get her. So she kind of instinctually, again, just kind of goes for the gusto. But I don't know, just the way I feel like I'm a broken record right now, but just the ending, the last 10 minutes is what makes this movie not a perfect film to me. And that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I agree with you. Cause even parts where she's walking away from the prom, like after all that happened, there's the whole scene with, the car coming up with Carrie Allen and, John Travolta, coming at her. That was kind of like, but yeah, then going home, I kind of like the whole idea where how far her mom would go to do what she felt was right to correct the situation. So I kind of like that, where it was like, oh wow, she's going there, like she's trying, like where she's going with it. But I agree with you. Like it was just kind of weird. It's like, okay, what made the house just like implode on itself and go in the ground and and go from there.
And I feel like I want to listen to like film theory people, like film historians, kind of talk about the ending of this movie to see if it can kind of make a little bit more sense to me, because maybe there is something that I am missing. But in the special features, there was really nothing that really talked about the ending. But I was
going to say,
you're going
to call me out. I haven't watched all the special features on this one, so maybe there's something on there. I don't know.
I mean, just looking at the back of yours and like seeing the amount of special features on mine, like this release is absolutely loaded, and I love that. Maybe I will listen to the commentary from De Palma just on those last 10 minutes and see if he can kind of explain to me why he kind of chose the way he did, or if it's just like a straight interpolation of what Stephen King wrote. Like I don't know how his short story ended. Like I know that there are a couple different factors of his book that did not make the cut of the film because it just made the film less focused. So that's another aspect of making a film, doing the cut, all that stuff.
Have you ever heard much of him commenting on what he thought about the film?
Stephen King? I haven't.
Yeah, I haven't either. And I was just curious because it's famously you hear stuff about like The Shining and things like that where he's just like, no. I'd be curious. I'll have to dig in and see if they got anything about that. But kind of curious what he thought about it, how it went. But
and I will say, if you do have the Scream Factory edition, the documentary that's on here is called Filming Carrie. Highly recommend you watch it. It's like 45 minutes long. It is shot in like the 4:3 aspect ratio, but it goes back to the glory days of when like DVDs cared about everything that they were putting out. Like whether it came to the packaging, the main menus, the special features they threw on there. I feel like DVD was the heyday of making up documentaries for movies. And this one is a phenomenal one to watch.
I'll have to dig in and see if I'll admit I have not gotten through everything on this release that I have. I'll have to see if that's on there or not. But that was one thing too, like we were talking about before we came live, where I'd be curious to look to see if this is the same or different 4K transfer than what you have, like between the two of these. It might be the exact same one. I don't know.
That's one thing we have not talked about yet, the transfer. And I thought this 4K looked phenomenal at times. There are some times where you have,
Yep.
we talked about this before we recorded, the 70s smear effect a little bit,
Yep.
like the Vaseline effect on the lens. But when this sucker is focused, like there's a scene with Carrie and her mom when Carrie is talking to her about her powers for the first time, and there's like lightning and thunder going on, like a lot of black levels. That scene's phenomenal. When they first get to the prom and it starts with like that big overhead shot of the prom and it's like slowly focusing in, that scene looked phenomenal. I think this is a very good example of an old movie getting new life kind of breathed into its lungs on 4K.
I agree. Yeah. So not knowing if we had the exact same transfer that we're looking at, I'll say the exact same thing though, too. There was spots of this movie that just popped and I'm like, yep, that's 4K, you know, kind of a thing when you're watching it. So I agree with you. Looking back, that didn't jump out at me, but when you're talking about the scene with her and her mother, I can see that looking back at it. And then I think I threw out too, just the pop of red at the prom, you know, that whole, when the turn happens within that. I think that too, at least the version I was watching, like, I was like, wow, that it just really popped out there. And, yeah, that's where you can be like, oh yeah, that's where 4K shines, you know.
Yes.
it can really pump those colors up, or you know, really cranking the sharpness in certain situations when it wants to.
Correct. Well, on the movie side, I don't really have a lot more to talk about it because I do think it is just great. Like I don't have a lot of nitpicks on this, and I could just wax poetic about each scene of the movie, but I don't really kind of want to do that either. Is there any last final thoughts you have about Carrie?
I would say it's definitely one, if you're a fan of horror movies, it's like one of those, I'm not saying you have to love it, but I think it's like one you need to, that's like one of those you need to watch.
I agree now.
You need to watch. There's certain movies that I think just pop up that they laid the groundwork for a lot of other things to come past them. And like I said, doesn't have to end up being your favorite movie ever, but I think it's like, if you're a fan of horror movies or even thrillers in this case, I think that kind of mixes into it. I think you got to throw that in your watch pile, you know, to see it.
I wouldn't even consider this a horror. I mean, it is a horror movie.
That's where I throw the thriller out a little bit.
This is like my baby's first horror movie. Like this is a movie that I could throw to my daughter when she's like 12 or 13 and kind of get her a nice starter entry into the horror genre for sure is Carrie.
Yeah. There's, I guess, dramatic, thrilling moments leading up through a lot of it, slow burn. But I think, you know, that's like we were talking about earlier where, you know, you turn the burner on high in the stove, it doesn't boil immediately. It starts, you know, building up and you can see what's coming and you're like, oh, this could tip over the edge kind of a thing. But yeah, maybe it doesn't go to the horror edge until, you know, towards that end, that final act of the movie, you know, where it kind of really goes into it. But, I think it does a good job with it. So I'd be curious, I guess, to talk to some more people too, that are like hardcore horror fans, where they would have this land in their spectrum of movies, you know, like, yep, it's a horror, we own it, or it's kind of on the edge.
If I did have to categorize it, I would do a horror movie, but I mean, this almost kind of goes into like the coming of age type movie.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
That genre of film. And I'm a huge sucker for that genre of film too. So when the first hour was more or less that type of movie, that kind of made me happy and had me just like, oh, okay, was not expecting this type of film. And yeah, could not have been more happily surprised by that.
Yeah, you got the outcast, the odd duck, you know, like trying to, they're innocent, trying to figure things out, and just kind of the world is not always sympathetic or nice to them.
Kids playing a prank. One feels bad and wants to make it up to her. One is spoiled and just wants to ruin this girl's life even more. It's just like, I don't know. Things that I feel like still happen to this day. So
absolutely,
it's all very relatable. Like this movie is still relatable even almost 50 years later. And I love to kind of see cinema do that, you know?
I agree. I think it hits home completely today.
Mhm.
There's so many things that kids today, I think, can relate to. Bullies or like feeling outside of the circle and
Yeah.
an outcast. I mean, there's so many. Yeah, you could relate to this. I think. Yeah, still to this day. Now, me not seeing the remake of it,
Hmm.
did you feel that they went? Not to spoil anything or any whatever, maybe I'll see it sometime. But did you think they went that direction with it as well, or did they?
So the main two cast members in this, like the people who play Carrie and her mom, are Chloe Grace Moretz as Carrie
Mhm.
and Julianne Moore as the mom.
Okay.
So when you have those two caliber actresses, they shine more of a spotlight onto that. Like there are probably 2 or 3 more scenes of Carrie and her mom,
Okay.
and I guess 2 less scenes of like all of the stuff happening at school.
Okay.
They're trying to make it a little bit different. I just feel like it. Chloe Grace Moretz trying to be the outcast at school never rung true to me, I guess. It always
Yeah.
felt like she was playing a character, whereas Sissy Spacek, you could totally see her as an outcast type in real life.
Yeah. And which is funny too. I'm like looking at that. We always talk about this, I think, with other movies as well, where she was like probably 27,
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
and she's
Mhm.
supposed to be, the high school girl in there, but no, like, but she played her role very quiet, reserved, and, I don't know, sheepish, like it. So she did play that very well, where you could see like where somebody that wants to have some aggression and take it out on somebody, she'd be a target for.
Correct. Yeah.
And,
Yeah. They always pick on the quiet kids, huh?
yeah, right.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So anyway,
Well,
that's sorry, not to go
no,
too far on that, but
that's
it was a
totally
great
fine.
movie.
Yeah, but with that, I think that's kind of a nice place to kind of tie a nice little bow onto Carrie.
Yeah.
Is there anything you kind of want to plug before we get out of here?
I got some things coming up. I'll just say Thursday night I have going to be Huck's Pop Culture Cafe. He's going to be over on my channel doing a movie club. We're going to be looking at a movie talking. So I'm looking forward to having him on. It'll be a first time. So, and hopefully I'll be talking to you sometime. First time on my channel,
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'll have you over.
Last time we kind of met up, and like even
Yeah.
when I was talking to you about recording something, I'm like, either you can
Yeah.
hop onto mine or I can hop
Oh,
onto
yeah.
yours. But yeah, for sure, I will definitely.
I always get so nervous about asking people. I'm still pretty new, and I know like some people are like, well, you're not really new, overall really right now, but overall kind of. To me, I still feel new with it. I still feel nervous asking people to do that. So yeah,
Sure.
hopefully, I'll have you on here sometime. But I'm going to say I appreciate you so much having me on. It was a pleasure meeting you in person. The couple times we did, had a great time hanging out with you, and it's been a blast being able to sit here and talk Arrow, Scream, and Carrie. It's been fun.
A little bit of everything, man.
Yeah, right.
I don't know what we're going to talk about on your channel, but I'm already looking forward to it.
We'll come up with something.
I could talk to you for a very long time, Corey. Yeah.
Well, that's a compliment. So I appreciate that very much. Do you got anything? You got anything up your sleeve that's coming out here pretty soon, or? I know you're always. Well, I mean, you always got something coming out, man. You are a worker. You pump it out, and I'm just not saying that, but you got stuff coming out all the time. But
I usually do like a video a day on all of the TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff. I'm starting to try to do 2 to 3 videos a week, long form on YouTube.
Wow, yeah.
It just takes a long time to record and edit as opposed to like the 90-second tidbits for social media. I enjoy doing that stuff more, but I do like doing the long form. It's just finding the time to do it.
Yeah.
My last video, I found a 4K player in Goodwill, and I tested it out to see if it worked and to see if it looks better than the Xbox that I use as my current 4K player. So that was fun. But I also have 2 more videos of the meetup that we had together in the docket. Like I just have to edit a little bit more. Hopefully.
Oh, I was gonna say. I was like, did I miss them?
No, I already released 2. And
yeah, no, I saw.
More,
I know I saw a couple of them, but
and the one that I release, I think tomorrow or Thursday, probably Thursday, will be the second Jays that we hit up.
Oh,
the third one will be where we went to the one in the mall, and then where I'm going to go over the pickups that we did in the middle of the night, like in the lighting and everything, just like in the back of our cars. Just
it's probably
there's fun
it's
stories
tough
to be had there. And honestly, like the stuff I got from you was probably some of the best stuff I got all day, and I got a lot of stuff.
That's cool.
So.
But that's what's fun when you get to do something like that. And if you got something you're willing to unload and somebody is excited to get that into their collection, that's fun to see that too. I'd rather do that than, and nothing against stores that buy used movies, because I do it all the time. And I love that because I get some credit to use. But I don't know, there's a little something extra special when somebody's like, oh, I wanted that in my collection, and you get to see them like, oh yeah, after you're all said and done, you're like, I got that now in my collection. So
you gave me 2 pieces, Corey. So
all right, that's awesome.
very 2 pieces that I've been wanting in the collection ever since they got announced. So,
awesome.
Yeah, can't wait to talk more about that when it gets released.
We'll have to talk about that, and we won't get into it now. But when we're talking about what we would talk about, I think I'll dig in that a little more. Of you are a man of many different platforms, let's say that. And so just keep that in mind. I would love to have you on and dig in a little bit more of your experiences. You've been on many more platforms than I have been on, and just, starting in where you did and then transitioning to other ones, or, differences between them. I'd love to pick your brain a little bit and just see what your thoughts are on that.
I'm excited to talk about that now. So whenever we'll figure that out once this episode's done. But it sounds, I have a lot to say on that subject. So
absolutely.
No, sounds like a great time. Thank you, Corey, for coming on the podcast.
I appreciate it very much.
Been a pleasure.
Yeah.
This has been episode number 36 of Boutique Talk. Thanks for watching, everybody. And until next time, I'll see you.
See you guys.